American Horror Story is one of those shows that just keeps on keeping on. The most recent season was met with mostly positive reviews, although the ending did seem to follow that trend of the show starts good and then goes completely off the rails. That does not mean that along the way we haven't got some bloody kills. With that in mind, I'm Sean Ferrick for What Culture, and here are 10 American Horror Story fates worse than death. Number 10. Being stuck inside a corpse. Everyone with that certain piece of anatomy can wince collectively while thinking of this one. The Ten Commandments killer is one of the shadowy antagonists of American Horror Story Hotel. In the very first episode of the season, the police find a grisly tableau left for them. A couple has been skewered to their bed and the woman has been killed. The man, however, has been pumped full of Viagra and he has been stuck inside the corpse. It's enough to make every person with a penis uncomfortably cross their legs, while the terrible implication being that, even if he is freed from her body, what will be left? No thank you. Number 9. Pepper's banishment. Pepper, like Misty Day both after and before her, is one of the characters in American Horror Story who is truly good. Her worst crime is that she pesters people to play, even if they don't want to. The audience is introduced to her in American Horror Story Asylum, and she is the first character to cross over between seasons. She appears in Freak Show as well. Here, her story is revealed. She was raised, badly, in an orphanage before being saved by Frau Elsa. As part of the show, she grew very close to a man with similar attributes as herself, Salty. However, when Salty died, she grew despondent and no longer wished to perform, leading Elsa to leave her with her sister, Rita Gayheart. This has tragic consequences. Rita resents Pepper's presence, though not nearly as much as her husband Larry does. Together, Rita and Larry concoct a plan to rid themselves of both Pepper and their deformed infant. They stage his murder and blame it on Pepper. She is then condemned to Briarcliff, where she is forced to remain until her eventual death. She is the victim of the evils of humanity, pure and simple. Number 8. Brought back as a zombie. Kyle Spencer. Another victim from American Horror Story's third season, Kyle Spencer had a fairly terrible life, both before and after death. While living, he was habitually abused by his mother, forcing him to partake in incestuous acts that began to rot him from the inside out. Despite this, he was still a good person at heart, and when he discovers what his teammates were doing to Madison Montgomery, he stops them. This does not save his life from Madison's rage, and she flips the bus that he and his team share. However, Zoe Benson pleads for his salvation, which Madison grants, to a degree. Cobbling together body parts, they bring him back to life, forcing him to exist as a zombie with little more grasp on reality than the standard Romero ghoul. He returns home and bludgeons his mother to death with a trophy. He visits Misty Day and she tries to help, but this triggers him and he rages through her home, causing her to cast him out. Fiona Good restores something of his old self, though he is left traumatized by what he's been through. His life then becomes one of servitude, though he does manage to find love in Zoe. He is not free of his rages and kills more people, including Madison, meaning he may never truly be whole again. Number 7. Shelley's legs. Just kill the woman and be done, rather than leaving the poor soul in this state. Shelley falls victim to Dr. Arden, the sadistic surgeon at the heart of Briarcliff's medical team and the American Horror Story Asylum. She is committed to the asylum by her cheating husband, who, sore that she turned his own actions back on him, had her sent with the charge of nymphomania. She manages to keep her defiant attitude in the asylum, serving as something of an antagonist to Sister Jude. Dr. Arden can't stand her, likening her to a whore. However, he takes her to his office and attempts to rape her. She openly laughs once he reveals his penis, suggesting it's either very small or malformed in some way. This pushes him over the edge. When she next wakes, she finds herself in his surgery. He's amputated both of her legs. She's then taken from the hospital by Sister Mary Eunice, left to be discovered in a schoolyard by a young child. The Monsignor, either as an act of cowardice or mercy, garrots her with his rosary beads. Number 6. Madison's Afterlife. Madison Montgomery is, in many ways, the ultimate bitch from American Horror Story. She arrives in Coven, quickly establishing herself as one of the top-tier witches at the Academy, before getting a comeuppance, several times, during the show's run. She's arrogant, stylish, bratty, and at all times she tries to be in control. Not even death seems to stop her, as she is first murdered by Fiona Good. Her throat is slit, as Fiona believes she is the next Supreme, rising to take away her powers. She's revived by Misty Day and Zoe Benson, supremely unhappy with what happened. She begins to grow increasingly unhinged from this point, attempting next to use Kyle to torment Zoe. It's Kyle who sends her to her somewhat ultimate fate. He strangles her, killing her again, this time for longer. Her hell, it's revealed, is to work in customer service for all eternity. It's here that she remains, despite a brief reprise courtesy of Michael Langdon. Yet, even that is reversed. She'll be folding sheets for quite some time to come, being screamed at by unhappy customers, forced to take it. Number 5. Becoming the host for the devil. Sister Mary Eunice, another wonderful portrayal by Lily Rabe, is a tragic character in American Horror Story Asylum. She's a devout nun to the point of self-flagellation, committed entirely to God and the pursuit of a holy existence. She is kind and caring, though meek. She is still haunted by an incident in her past which saw her tricked into revealing her body. She is, in her piety, the perfect host for the devil. As she witnesses the end of a lengthy exorcism, the devil possesses her, taking her entirely, but forcing her to remain aware of what is happening around her. From this point on, the closest to God member of the Cloth and Briarcliff is the walking embodiment of Satan, subjugating the residents of the asylum under her increasingly brutal rule. While it may seem as though Satan has killed her and simply wears her face, a chance encounter with Shakath proves that Sister Mary Eunice still resides inside, terrified and constantly trying to battle the demon. It is Shakath and Monsignor Timothy who finally free her, though not before her body is used for acts that are antithetical to her nature. Before her eventual release and death, Sister Mary Eunice spent her last days as the creature she dedicated her life to reject. Number 4. Misty Day is trapped in hell. Misty Day, as played by Lily Rabe in both Coven and Apocalypse, is one of the truly good characters in American Horror Story. She is a witch with the power of resurgence, meaning she can bring back souls from the dead. However, this power does not serve to do her any favours as she undergoes the 7 wonders. Her entrapment in hell is potentially one of the cruelest fates that any character in American Horror Story must face. A devout lover of all living things, she's trapped in a cold biology class, forced to kill and dissect a frog over and over again, unable to free herself from her torment. Like many entries on this list, she is eventually freed from this hell, but for the entire duration of her stay, surely the depths of oblivion would have been preferable to her daily unlife. Number 3. Delphine LALAURIE'S Girls. This one deserves no sympathy, yet it is unmistakably a fate that one may not wish upon their worst enemy. Let this tale be litmus paper for exactly how twisted the viewer is. Delphine LaLaurie was a monster, and no doubt about it. She murdered dozens of slaves in her time, punishing them cruelly for perceived wrongs, and then even more so after her husband had an affair. She bathed in blood to retain her youth, though this had very little effect. She was tricked by the voodoo queen Marie Laveau into becoming immortal, thus meaning she must watch her family die. She's brought into the service of Fiona Good over 100 years later, forced then to see her daughters return as zombies in an attempt to destroy the Coven. Although she is distraught by this, it's nothing compared to her final fate. She's ultimately taken prisoner by Papa Legba, the demon who is the source of Laveau's power. There, she is trapped, forced to watch Marie torture manifestations of her children for all time. No thank you. Number 2. The Harmon family's fate. Ben, Vivian and Violet were just an average family, moving into a new home in the hope that it would help to bring them closer together as a family. In a way, this succeeded. In a way. Murder House, as it was dubbed, is one of those spots on Earth that binds the soul of anyone who died there to that spot, tethering them for all eternity. Time will then start to move quite differently, looping and reversing, breaking the sanity of all those in place. The first of the family to die is Violet, taking an overdose of pills. However, she does not initially realise that she has died. The second to die is Ben, hung from a chandelier. The last is Vivian, dying during childbirth. However, at the end of the first season, there's an almost hopeful ending, showing the Harmon family, along with Moira, celebrating Christmas together in the house. However, when Madison and Behold visit the house in an attempt to discover more about Michael Langdon, the audience discovers the true and darker fates of these spirits. Violet, trapped with Tate, who had raped her mother, hides from him all the time. Ben oscillates between attempting to give Tate therapy and crying while masturbating at the window. Vivian has hidden herself away entirely, refusing to appear to him. The witches do offer the family some help, which aids in healing some of the wounds, but this is undone, leaving the Harmon family doomed for all eternity. Number 1. Spending eternity as a housemaid. Described by Billie Dean Howard as perhaps the saddest soul to ever inhabit Murder House, she worked as a maid for Constance and Hugo Langdon until, in 1983, she was found by Constance as Hugo attempted to rape her. Constance believed her to be complicit and shot her through the eye, thus condemning her to remain trapped within the house. She would then go on to appear in both her old visage and her young visage, depending on who viewed her. Despite the fact that Constance murdered her, she harboured a deep hatred for men in general, blaming them for her state. She attempted to free herself with the Harmon's unwitting help, though this was unsuccessful. On Halloween 2011, she was able to leave the house for one night only and visited her ailing mother, whom she subsequently smothered, releasing the older one from pain. Moira was unable to join her in the afterlife, tethered as she was to the house. She was eventually freed from the house by Madison Montgomery and Behold Shabley as part of a deal they made with the ghost of Constance Langdon to finally rid the pair of each other for all eternity. While this may seem like a happy ending, there was a terrible twist. Thanks to time travel, certain events were erased from history, as was the event of her freedom. Moira remains condemned to the house forever. On that cheery note, that's everything for our list. Do you think there's anything in previous or subsequent seasons that we should have included here? Let us know. Remember, you can catch us over on Twitter at WhatCulture, and you can catch myself at Sean Ferrick over on Twitter as well. You look after yourselves until I talk to you again. Hopefully, however you spend the rest of your day or week, it's a fate better than death. Thanks very much.